Over the last couple of weeks, we've made green beans and baked potatoes, so today we are adding a couple of steaks to our dinner. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy these are to make. All right, to make our steaks, we are going to need 2 clays. This is Fimo in caramel, and this is actually a mixture of 2 parts translucent to 1 part white, and we just need a teeny tiny bit of this. This is one of those mixes that I keep in a storage bag in with my white clay at all times, and I just keep it pre-mixed because I use it so much. You don't need a lot of that, and you could use more than I do or less than I do. And my tray is really dirty because I've been playing around with this, but it's all clays and chalks that we're going to be using, so it's fine. So I am going to kind of make a short, fat snake here. And I'm going to try to kind of tear this. And I've rolled this out really thin. I don't want very much. The white translucent mixture is fat, and that's going to be running through and near and around our steak. And depending on, and you notice I'm using my finger to make this really thin. I don't want much. I just want little amounts. I'll do one more kind of for here. Not even going to fill that whole area. I'm just going to put just a little wisp of, whoops. Let's try and make it go the whole length though. Okay. Now, and we won't see a lot of this. It's just going to make a variation in the color on the outside of our steak so that you'll know it's not just a plain piece of clay. You could skip it if you want to. Now I'm going to put that off to the side. And now I'm going to roll this down. Now this is just kind of a generic steak, like a sirloin, maybe something like that. I'm not making a specific cut, and it's going to be a boneless steak. Sometime we will make some bone-in ones. So I made a snake, and I'm just cutting some pieces. And let's see, how big is my snake? I'm kind of eyeballing this. I'm betting that's about 1/4 inch. Yep, that's about 1/4 inch. And let's get you a length. And it's about 3/8 of an inch thick. So I have 2 craft sticks that I've glued together to make a double high craft stick. And that's just so that we can kind of smush these down. We're going to get the shape started. Because I just want to get it started. Now, I'm going to kind of make it longer, and I'm going to use my fingers because I want my fingerprints. I want to use the texture on the end of my fingers as my texturing tool here. I don't want my steaks to be too smooth. Now, I want to compare these because that one is way too big. So let's cut off part of it. Kind of round it out. It's okay if they're kind of odd shaped. Let's put it next to I've got one of our piles of green beans and one of our baked potatoes. That's a good size. So I'm going to cut this one off. I'm going to cut that away, cut this away, and then kind of round it. This way I've got a little more control. I can make my steak a little different shape. It's up to you how you do this. I'm going to make 2 different sizes, assuming that my couple that's eating steak, maybe one wants a bigger steak than the other. And also just to show you, they can be different sizes. So now we're going to start doing some chalking. And I'm going to get my thing out here. We're going to use a couple of colors we don't use very often. Start with this red. I was hoping I had like a burgundy color, but I don't. But I've got a red. And I'm going to add to that some kind of a red-brown. We're not going to use a lot of this, but I want enough in there you can see what I'm doing. And I do have a towel to kind of wipe my fingers off on. And then we're going to use our normal yellow ochre that we use on everything. And we are going to use, I've got a different set of chalks out today, and so I don't have my colors I usually do. But I needed a red. I'm going to use a brown. All right, now make sure your fingers are fairly clean. Pick your steak up, and we're going to take this red, we're going to kind of mix the 2 colors together, and we're just going to make a hint of red on the edges. You know how sometimes when you cook a steak and the edges stay a little, you still have a little pink on the sides because the middle's pink, assuming you're not cooking your steak well done. Trying to not get too much on the surface, although if it does, that's okay, and don't get it on the fat line. And you don't need too much, just a little bit. All right, now we're going to coat the whole thing with the yellow ochre, because mainly I want to lighten up the brown a little bit overall, and I want that fat to look cooked. Then I'm going to roll it over, and I'm going to do the other side. And I like to do both sides on these because one side invariably will turn out better than the other, so I like to finish both sides. That way I've got a choice when I go to use it. All right, now I'm going to take this brown color and I'm just going to lightly, I don't want very much of that, just a little. I'm not going to see a lot of it. Make sure both sides are done. All right, now we're going to get a little messy. I have a sewing pin that I used a pair of pliers and I bent it. I'm using this as opposed to my dental tool for a couple of reasons. Number one, I can get a nice right angle. Also, this is a consistent size, it's a consistent diameter, and it is thinner than my dental tool. And I don't get paint on my dental tool this way. So I'm going to get all my clay tools off of my tray before I do the next step. Get all my clay back, because I have some black craft paint. I'm going to put just a drop out, and I have a Q-tip to kind of spread it out with. I just want a very thin black skin of paint here. Take my pin, and you might find you need to kind of hold on to your steak. And I'm pushing down and drawing off. And you are getting paint on your fingers, so be aware of that. So don't get paint where you don't want it. Try and keep your grill marks staying nicely consistent. And you could go both ways if you want to, or just one way, depending on how you want your steak done. Now I'm going to give this just a few minutes because I want that to dry. I want that paint to be a little bit dry before I flip these over. And then when I come back, I'm going to turn the camera off, let this dry. When I come back, we'll flip them over. We'll put the black lines on the other side and then they'll be ready to bake. All right, the paint is dry, or fairly dry on there, so I'm going to flip these over. I'm going to try and bring the camera down just a little bit so you can maybe see a little better what I'm doing now that I'm not going to be moving these. There. Now I'm going to dip the pen back in the black paint. Now you will get paint on your fingers, so be very careful where you touch. Oops. Come on. Okay, put that off to the side. Get this one done. If your paint has dried up on your tile, wherever you've put it out, you may need to get new paint. I was able to break the skin on this and get it to work. I tried several different ways to do this, and this was the way that seemed to come out with the neatest looking lines. All right. Now I'm going to bake according to clay package directions, about 10 minutes at recommended temperature. When they are baked and cooled, I'll come back and we will finish them off. All right, these are baked and cooled off, so it's time to put a coat of satin Mod Podge on them. So I'm going to start. I'm only going to do the top side and the top and the edge. I'm not going to bother with the bottom side. But it's super easy, just take a nice run around the edge. And it takes very little Mod Podge, and I'm actually going to use a toothpick to kind of anchor these down. Now the secret to getting Mod Podge to not be sticky, and I know we all have issues with that from time to time. Generally speaking, I have found, not only on polymer clay, but on paper projects, cardstock projects, even wood projects, the glossier the Mod Podge, the more apt it is to remain sticky and not dry correctly. And I find that that is usually down to a case of it going on too thick, so it doesn't cure properly. Mod Podge is kind of picky. But unfortunately right now it's the only product I've got that is a safe polymer clay finish. All right, so I'm going to let those dry. I'm going to go clean my paintbrush, and when they're dry I'll come back and we will look at them alongside of our baked potatoes and our green beans. All right, our Mod Podge is dry and they are ready to put on a display. So let's bring in our baked potatoes and our green beans. We'll have to get a more permanent home for these in the next couple of weeks, but we have a couple of steak. Let's get that more centered under the camera here. My camera is at a very odd angle today. I don't know why, I don't know what happened, but those are big steaks. That's the way I like mine. Okay, I hope you enjoyed today's project. If you did, leave me a like. Leave a comment. Let me know what you want to see made on a future tutorial. Be sure and check the blog post, although there's not a lot of pictures this week, but I'll have some of the information over there. Find us on the Facebook group if you haven't already. That's usually the quickest way to get a hold of me. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button. If you enjoy my content, be sure and hit the subscription button if you haven't subscribed already, and the notification bell so that YouTube can let you know when I put up a new video. And I will talk to you next time. Bye.